Hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel and specifically welcome to Fragrance Friday. I've been trying to discipline myself to talk about fragrances since some of you seem to enjoy those videos where I ramble on about what I think about various perfumes that I have tried. I've been trying to do those on a Friday. I don't always succeed, but this week I am going to talk about a relatively new release by Chanel. It's a new version of Number 5 and it's called L'Eau, water. Probably significant. We'll come to that in a minute. I've been trying this now for about a fortnight. On and off. I have used some other fragrances, but definitely got a good feel for it. So it was an end of summer release. I think that's quite surprising when you actually smell it, because it's not, in my view, an autumn or fall fragrance. It would have been much better suited to a spring or summer release, in my view. I know that Chanel Number 5 is a great classic, but this is definitely a light version of Number 5. But there we go. It's come out in early autumn, certainly over here in the UK, and has been quite warm, so it's been very pleasant to wear. Now, this is the second, I believe, major variation on the classic Chanel Number 5 that's been produced by Jacques Polge, one of the celebrated noses for Chanel fragrances for certainly the last decade or more, maybe 2 decades, not sure about that. But behind a lot of the Les Exclusives and other fragrance developments. This is the, fairly classic packaging that we come to expect. I bought the 50ml. I love the 50ml bottles, actually, in the sprays. This is an eau de toilette. You can't knock that packaging. It looks very pretty in your bathroom or on your dressing table, and the kind of paper packaging has its own little special kind of sleeve going over the usual kind of package we're aware of. It's been quite heavily promoted in the UK. I bought mine actually in Peterborough. I was away from London working and went to a local store counter, and they were all dressed up in t-shirts for it, and there were lots of posters and things, and they packaged it very nicely in a box, which I very much appreciated. So kudos to, I think it was John Lewis in Peterborough, who made a much nicer presentation than one sometimes gets in the shops. So what about the fragrance itself, having gabbled on? It's described as a clean and modern take on the classic Number 5, and it is definitely that. It's recognisably Number 5. I think anyone smelling it who is familiar with Number 5, and a lot of people are, even if they don't wear Number 5 themselves, I think it must be one of the most recognisable perfumes in the world, is probably going to get that it's a relative of Number 5, particularly after the first few minutes. The top notes are the traditional aldehydes from Number 5, but in addition, lemon, mandarin, orange and neroli, so a very strong citrus opening, and you definitely can get that, or I can get that when I spray it. It's a really, really nice citrus. It's not sugary, it's not sweet. I don't think it's synthetic, although I have heard people describe it as a kind of lemon sherbet smell. I don't get that. I get it as a really nice, balanced, floral citrus mix. I happen to like citrus, so I really like that opening blast, which is very distinctive and fairly different from Number 5. But that opening blast on me lasts literally minutes, and it dries away then, and you're left with the centre, which is supposed to be rose, yang yang, and jasmine. I certainly get the jasmine, and a base of cedar and white musk, which I don't particularly get individually. It just smells like a very faint number 5 on me. And that's really the problem for me with this version. I do like it, but it has no lasting power on me. It's now, I guess, about 5 o'clock. I sprayed at midday, and even with my nose right up to my arm, I can't smell it at all. I reckon you get about 2 hours of anything, and it's, fairly close to the skin after the initial whiff of the citrus that you get. A lot of people have compared it to Eau Premiere, which I also have, which, unless I'm mistaken, I haven't looked up again, is also a Jacques Polge a few years ago. There we are. They're looking almost identical. Is this an eau de toilette? This is an eau de parfum, whereas this is an eau de toilette. They haven't, I don't think, brought it out in the perfume yet. They are similar. I like Eau Premiere very much indeed. I actually, truth be told, prefer it now to the current formulation of the classic number 5, which has changed a lot in the decades I've been aware of it being around. And I do find now, even in the eau de parfum and the parfum, perhaps less so with the parfum, it has a slightly old, powdery aspect to it that I'm not that fond of. I don't hate it. I've bought number 5 on and off for many decades. I don't wear it all the time, but I would choose Eau Premiere now over the classic. But what I would say, and it's perhaps a little unfair comparison because this is an eau de parfum as opposed to an eau de toilette. Eau Premiere has, firstly, a much longer lasting power on my skin. Secondly, it hasn't got that opening of the citrus, which I actually like. So that's kind of plus for the low. But its dry down is much warmer. You can smell it for much longer on the skin, but what you can smell is, if I say sugary, that sounds dreadful. Vanilla, maybe. It just is a warmer, more inviting dry down for me than low, and it definitely lasts better. Certainly in the form I have it than low. So they are similar, apart from the very opening. But if you were just going for one, I would definitely go with the Eau Premiere. And what I do have to say about this is 50ml, I think I'm going to say 68. It might have been 63, but I'm pretty sure it was £68, which is a not insubstantial amount to pay for an eau de toilette. Of course, you're paying for Chanel. I appreciate that. But I have to say, for that sort of price, I don't expect to be reapplying it every 1.5, 2 hours to be able to smell it. And in that sense, it really made me think of Jo Malone. Not, of course, now a great fragrance house like Chanel, but the feeling I have with Jo Malone fragrances now is that they're often really interesting smells, really interesting mixes, but they just don't last on the skin 5 minutes. So you're spraying, as if it's a cheap drugstore perfume. And that's just not acceptable for the sort of prices that you're paying, even more so for Chanel. There should be quality ingredients that are lasting a bit longer on the skin, is my feeling. And the second thing I would say is this one, in terms of its atmosphere, not its notes, because, as I say, there is the citrus, there is the aldehyde, but its mood kind of reminds me of the Les Exclusives 1932, which is a great favourite of mine. That hasn't the greatest staying power in the world, but it's a lot better than this. And I think I would wear both of them in pretty much the same occasions, perhaps warm weather at an occasion where I don't want to overwhelm or be obvious or be too seductive, a work environment maybe, or, a kind of family event, something like that. Then, of the two, 1932 is much the superior and frankly worth the slightly extra money. So, yeah, it's a kind of very qualified like of Low. There's nothing offensive in this. It's actually nice, particularly if you like citruses. The citrus part is done really well. I just feel it's kind of poor value for the money and sufficiently similar to Eau Premiere for me to question why we need it as an additional. So yeah, I will definitely use up my bottle. I do like it, but I'm not sure I would rush to repurchase. If you're a Chanel fan, even if you're not a Chanel fan, but you like fragrance, I think you want to go along and try and smell both of these on the counter, and indeed number 5, because number 5 is such a classic and influential and at its time groundbreaking fragrance that has lasted. I think anyone who's interested in perfume, is going to want to give that a good sniff and think what it reminds them of, and it undoubtedly has influenced so many other fragrances since. So definitely worth a visit to the counter. I have some other newish perfumes to discuss with you soon, new to me anyway. Surprise, surprise, some other Chanel and some Tom Ford and some Guerlain. So until next Fragrance Friday, whenever that may be, bye for now.